Hi, so in this video tutorial, I wanted to show how we can run the AWS environment locally in your development system. So in order to run the AWS services locally, we need to have Docker installed on your system. So to get started, first of all, we can get the Docker setup from the docker.com, hub.docker.com, and there is a prerequisite for installing the Docker for desktop Windows is to have you need to have the Windows Professional or Enterprise, and that has to be 64-bit. If you don't have that, there is another way or workaround using the Docker toolbox that you can get the information from here. Uh, Once you have the Docker image installed, you'll just run the setup in administrator mode. And once it is done, you should be able to see a little icon like this on your taskbar. When it is starting, you will see some activity going on in the icon, and once it is all started, it will settle down. So once that is done, you should be able to move to the next step, wherein you need to get the local stack image installed on your system. So in order to do that, what we need to do is go to your system drive. So you can create a new directory on your local system. So let's say here I have created a new directory on the C drive. What we need to do is we need to have two files that from this we need to have two files from this local stack repository. One thing you can do is you can clone and download the whole repo and then start building up, but I think it is not needed, and we can just go ahead and create a new file like this. So we can go ahead and create a new file like this, and call it docker.yml. So this is the content I will show. I'll tell you what all this is. You just specify the so what we are doing here is basically we are giving the name of the Docker image. So this is the docker-compose.yml file, which will be used to create a download and create the image or the container image on locally on your system. So here we are giving the name to your local system. The next is image that we need to download. So this is the path how we can specify that it goes to the in Docker server or the Docker hub, and then try to find that particular image in the repository. The next lines are some port mappings from your local system to the virtual container. Next is some default details that we are not touching. The other thing we will be interested would be the services. So this here we are specifying which particular service that we will be using. So S3, EC2 instance, API gateway, DynamoDB, Lambda, and IAM. If you need any other services, you can just go to the local stack and look around here. And these are all the services available, and these are the endpoints that it will be exposed. But in order to configure the YAML file, what we can do is you can look at here and try to find what are the names of the services, or what particular keywords are being used for which particular service. And if you see here, You can specify a different port if you need, if needed. If you go here, AWS CLI, yeah, I already had it open. So these are all the names of the services. So you can use just the service names and specify it over here. Next is debug. We are setting debug equal to 1. And what this will do is, like, behind the scenes, whenever we are trying to interact with the AWS service, if there are any error or if there is any activity going on, when we have debug 1, it will, in real time, it will show or throw out all the log information from your terminal from where you are running the local stack service, so that you know what's going on behind the scenes, and it will help you debug through your issues or debug through what's happening, or to know what's happening and what is being processed, how many records processed, and all those kinds of information you will be able to see in the terminal window. So I will come back to this. I'll touch base on this later, a little later, when we have actually the services running on the terminal. The next is data directory. So what this does is basically it maps your local drive or local space to your Lambda function or the S3 bucket, so that whenever we try to upload something on your S3 bucket, it will use this directory to actually physically store that information. So if we go back to the folder, we can create a new folder, data. So this will be used for this will be used for all the temporary location, physical location, for storing all the files that are going through the bucket or the Lambda function and all. So this is the YAML file. Let's go to the next thing. This is, I think, port 8080 or port 80 we have to map. So this port Web UI will be used over here. The next is next we are not touching anything. So let's go ahead and get started with this. So once we have this, we can type the command for running this, which is docker-compose.up. So I'll create a new file with the docker composer and save it as .bat. And now we should have that. So I should have that. It will actually go ahead and start downloading the file from the Docker Hub services. And I'll pause it here once and resume once this is done. So now it has downloaded all the required information, and now it's trying to unpack the downloaded files. Once it is done, it will start creating all the services. Okay, so if we look at here, since we have this debug equal to 1, we can see all these information uh, being displayed on the terminal. Now if you see here, we have all these services that we had. We wanted S3, C2, API Gateway, Dynamo, Lambda, and IAM. They are all running, and you can see it over here. So the next thing is we can go to the LocalStack, and let's see, we want to see S3 bucket. So if I click on this, you'll be able to see that this particular service is running from my local, and it is actually there, the service is there, but then right now there are no buckets, so the bucket node is empty. Let's go ahead and create a new bucket on my local system. So if we here is the command AWS. Then we'll have to specify. So in order to run it locally, we need to specify the endpoint URL to target to our local AWS and not the server environment. So here it is. Here is how we are specifying the endpoint. So this endpoint is actually the exact URL that we are having here. So, and the next is your AWS service, then the command for that service. So here I'm saying make bucket, and then providing the ARN for my bucket resource. So here in this case it is s3 colon // and then the name of my bucket, which is krithul-dev. And here if you see, sure enough, we have created a new bucket with the name of Krithul. If we go back to this and refresh over here, I'll be able to see that there is a new bucket with the name krithul-dev and creation date and all that. So going back here, if I go to, let's say, if I open a new terminal and what we need to do, let's create a new file. Let's call this as test.txt, and I write test file for s3 service, and I save it, close it, and if we go here and give the command to upload the file to the s3 bucket, which will be so here I'm saying that again AWS CLI, and the endpoint service name is 3, copy cp for copy, the test.txt is the file that we just created on the local stack. So here it is, test.txt. I need to have the name capital, and I want to copy it as test.txt on my S3 bucket. So once I click on this, it will actually go ahead and upload this file. If I go back here, we have set it to use this. So if we go into this, it doesn't have. How come? Okay, anyway, so if we go here and update this, so now we want to check what is there on this particular bucket. So go here and just say ls, and it will list there is one folder in here. Okay, so there is one bucket. There is one bucket on this endpoint. Now, if you want to see what is there on this particular bucket, we have to specify the ARN for the bucket. So I say here, it will show the file. So sure enough, we have one file, test.txt.